term, what you have to do is you have to talk to that person, because they're no longer bound by like societal ideas of like that exist currently of like what it means to be in a real relationship or what it means to be like a proper adult. So I think at that point you probably are able to be in a long-term relationship. You're just talking a lot more about it and like asking each other like, how do you feel about the status of our relationship, not just like how do you feel this morning, which I think is something that people don't talk about because they constantly prioritize stability above everything else. Okay, also I just don't think it's true that like all people are just meant to be together forever. Like I think it's quite possible that like somebody might change, someone's economic situation might change, somebody wants kids, the other person doesn't. I think it's like status quo. It's quite unacceptable to like leave. It's often unacceptable to leave your partner for those reasons when you're in a long-term relationship with them, because you feel because it's seen as something that you should work through, like in a quest to hit like another milestone that won't guarantee you happiness, but is seen as kind of like a measure of how successful your relationship is. I don't think then it's true that like society will kind of like never be happy and all people will always judge you, because I just don't think it's true that people will just rush around like from relationship to relationship. Like I think people still know their own minds, and people would probably have an idea of like what kind of relationship they want. If you're able to have open communication, like we explained to you earlier, if you're able to have that, you're probably not running around like relationship to relationship. And if you are, at least you are understanding that there are other people who are doing that, because like it is now acceptable to leave people when you're in a relationship with them, and it's acceptable to not stay in relationships forever. I think it's just I just don't think it's true that like this analysis we get that people just don't listen to like movies, or people don't listen to like popular media that tells them that they need to stay in a stable, they need to stay in a long-term relationship forever, that they're going to get married and be happy forever. Like I think that like when people are social, like when like especially like women are socialized to be like conflict averse, or to not like provoke conflict within a relationship, I think you probably are pretty influenced by the kind of media you watch, which tells you those same messages, and which tells you those same messages and gives and constantly is messaging you and tells you that you're supposed to, but what you should aim for and what you should strive for is a stable relationship, and one that's going to last forever, and prioritize that above like your individual happiness or whatever you feel like you should be getting out of your relationship. Okay, I just don't think that it's true that like people just kind of tend to like, kind of like rush around and like live these like in crazy lives that are complete, that lack stability, because I just think there are so many ways in which you can get stability in your life that don't just come from having a stable relationship with like one other person, despite the fact that that is a source of stability for other people. Like it's possible to have like a career that is stable, that you stay in for many years, that you get a lot of fulfillment out of. It's possible to have like it's possible to have like a huge amount of friendships that you consider to be stable, that you don't think people and that you like if you communicate with your friends, if you see them often, then you have an understanding that relationship is something that's going to last forever, and that is something that gives you stability in your life. Like like a romantic relationship is not necessarily the one thing that grounds people, just because it's a thing that grounds a lot of people currently. And I think that overall, and even if we have to stand over a world where there's like a significant lack of stability for a great number of people, that's probably still just better than current world where a lot of people are in what seem to be kind of like stable relationships, in that they kind of hit milestones that are expected of them constantly. So like after a year or two, you kind of like, I don't know, plan to get married, or you have a child in 5 years, or you put down you get a joint bank account, or you get a mortgage, or you start to sacrifice things for each other. Like one of you might give up your career to do a lot of to do child rearing or whatever. And I think when people do that, when people hit these these markers of stability that are kind of arbitrary, what they often do is they see those as signals of how successful their relationship is. So people are measuring their relationship in terms of like how stable it is and how long that lasts, which is the metric that we are trying to get away from here when we tell you you get better communication in like almost in like every other world, where you're not prioritizing stability because you have an understanding that you could get that from other sources in your life, but also because like society or like people around you aren't judging you when you leave romantic relationships, because like people don't call relationship, because people stop calling marriages that failed, or people don't judge you for like leaving a relationship or a committed relationship where you might have had kids with somebody, or people don't judge you and there isn't societal pressure to stay in a relationship where you aren't happy. Because I think what happens when you prioritize stability is you always end up prioritizing that over you always end up prioritizing that, and you end up prioritizing the happiness of the other person in that relationship at the point at which or when and you begin to sacrifice at the expense of your own personal happiness. So like if somebody is kind of annoying, but you weigh stability really highly because there's an expectation from everybody who you know that you'll stay in a relationship with them forever. If that expectation exists, then you probably are a lot more likely to put up with people who annoy you, or people who aren't the best fit for you, or people who have changed since you married them or since you met them 20 years ago. I think it's probably just healthier for all involved, and people are constantly evaluating how they actually feel in their relationship, saying, are they fulfilled in their relationship? Are there something else that they want? Have they changed as a person, or has the other person changed as a person? You're more likely to do that when your family are constantly asking you when you are going to like move out and buy a bigger house, or get up higher on the property ladder, or have a child, or leave your career in order to mind that child. I think you get much less of that pressure at the point at which those people aren't saying that anymore, because there isn't an expectation from those people that you're going to stay, that you're going to prioritize the happiness, and you're not going to prioritize your own happiness. I think what happens then is that you just kind of end up prioritizing yourself more. You're constantly asking yourself those questions about kind of like if you're happy in that relationship, or if that still fulfills you. You're less likely to do things like erode your personal boundaries, and you're less likely in like small ways and put up with people who are annoying, or put up with people who annoy you every day for like 20 years. But you're also less likely to do things like just kind of like randomly have a child, because you see that marker of stability is something that is really valuable and really important socially. So that at that point, when you're constantly evaluating your own happiness, you're probably, even if you have slightly less stability in your life, probably just happier with that. Thank you, and I beg you to propose.
I'd like to thank the previous speaker for a very fine speech, and I am very happy to call upon the deputy leader of opposition. Hey, hey.
Am I audible? Okay. Can I not turn on my video? Like I consent to being streamed, or okay. Thank you. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. So, Chair, understand that when your emotional, sexual needs, and etc. are being fulfilled by another person, only then these two individuals who are in a healthy relationship, or even not, or in a long-term relationship, are very likely to self-actualize or do better individually when they see that that their happiness level are being happiness is being fulfilled, and their other needs are being fulfilled. We believe that instead of moving on from one person to another and thinking that they are going to attain some sort of satisfaction from this kind of dating culture, we believe that these people are just in that race of finding someone and never settling for that one person, just because they know that just because that expectation does not exist anymore of long-term relationships, and just because they think that it's too risky of a thing to actually go into. So coming on to the rebuttals, uh, 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 government talks about how there's a societal pressure. We believe that that exists on both sides, but in our world, what actually happens is that people can at least expect that one relationship is going to work for them. So understanding that not all relationships in your life are actually going to work for you, you thinking that you are going to find this one person, and this one person is someone you have chosen for yourself and not someone that was imposed on you, whereas all your other relationships are biological and not exactly what you choose for yourself. So we believe that that this person is someone you have chosen, and this person is someone you want to actually spend your life with, and you will actually work towards doing that for that person. So when they talk about how you're going to put their needs over yours, we believe that nothing wrong with actually avoiding conflict with people. uh, we do it all the time in our lives with all our other relationships, or even in our professional life, where we put our needs after other people. So OG never actually tells us why long-term relationships are necessarily going to be unstable, and are going to lead to a lot of conflict in the first place. But also when they talk about how financial situations of that person might change, so you might want to opt out of that relationship. So if your relationship status is dependent on other person's financial relationship status, we do not think that you are actually you in romantically related with that person in the first place, but just for material needs, which is fine. But at the same time, if that's the case and you want to opt out of it, you can, sure, you can opt out of it. But if you feel that there is some margin, that you feel that you are romantically you feel that a connection with that person, you might still want to stay in that relationship and might want to work it out, whatever financial issues exist, because financial issues are like kind of temporary and may actually change over time. Secondly, they talk about how you might have to give up career, etc. We believe that when you see your future with a person, you're obviously going to discuss about your career, about not having children, etc. A lot of married people do not have children, they mutually consent to not having children. You don't see how you not having children has anything to do with going into long-term relationships with a person. This is one person you're going into a relationship with. This has nothing to do with having children. And when they talk about how these relationships are going to be unhealthy, we believe that it's the one-off scenario where this is going to happen. In our world, you might love the person and still in their world, sorry, in their world, you might not might love the person and still not want to be a relationship with them, because you think nobody commits anymore to these relationships. And if this person is willing to actually commit with you, you're actually more suspicious of it and scared of the idea of a long-term relationship, which means that you're never actually going to believe that some sort of fulfillment or some sort of romantic fulfillment can actually exist for you, because you've never actually because you've kind of normalized not having expectations for a long term relationship. So secondly, communicating your needs with your partner, you have so which means literally means that you have needs that only your partner can fulfill and not you as a person, which means that you need this person in the long term and not just temporarily fulfilling your some needs whatsoever. Before I move on to my positive cases, there are POI from closing. Opening. Okay. Moving on to my positive case about how long-term intimate relationships are important and why hookup culture in general is bad. Understanding that intimate relationships give you the ultimate sense of fulfillment, where the other person literally accepts you as you are, accepts every part of you as you are, and you would want some permanency with such a relationship. When you see that there's compatibility, that person is accepting of you, and where we see that no other relationship is that much accepting or even have that sort of intimacy in the first place. So your sexual needs and your emotional needs are being fulfilled, and you believe that you're not exactly stressed about not having someone to have this intimate relationship with when everyone else is falling in love around you, or having some sort of relationships, or getting married, etc. You believe that societal pressure, or even the mental pressure that you are going to have, is going to be much greater on their side when when people are not going to have this expectation anymore. So we believe that what hookup culture does is that it can only fulfill your sexual needs, obviously, and you don't exactly and understand that you don't exactly get on dating apps just for hooking up all the time. At some point you do find someone you would like, or at all points you are looking for someone you are going to like or have some a permanent form of relationship with them. So we believe that hookup culture actually prevents you from going for that kind of relationship, even if you do find that person, because you're too scared, because you're too scared of actually committing, or understanding that this relationship could be permanent, this relationship could have some stability for you. We believe that on our side, we believe that why do we went from OG? We believe that we tell you how these relationships are very important, and how this one relationship is different from all the other relationships. So the kind of stability or the kind of expectations that are attached with it are very different. And we believe that this no strings attached mentality is very bad, because of the fact that how once you start thinking that everything is going to have literally no strings attached to it, you literally start thinking that that there is no permanency in life whatsoever. You cannot think that your career is a permanent thing. You're probably going to start thinking that I can move to a next career in some other after some years, because because that's how life has been. Because if relationships do not have permanency, why should any of my other decisions or career prospects or any other things are going to have any permanency? Which also means that you're not going to exactly feel that way for your other relationships, biological relationships as well, where you feel that you do not owe them anything, or you're just going to be selfish about these relationships. So for all of those reasons, we're very, very proud to oppose.
I'd like to thank the previous speaker for a very fine speech, and to open the second half of this debate, I am very happy to call upon the member of government. Here.
Can you hear me? Give me 20 seconds, please. So I'm sorry, I'm here, and 1, 2, 3. We in closing government will talk why breakup is actually a good thing, and how this expectation forces you to self-sacrifice, which destroys your ability to break up. So how does it differ from opening government? 2 things. Notice that opening government's all analysis bases on societal expectation, on pressure from your family, on pressure on your surrounding. But notice that we are not talking, but we're not going to base our analysis on societal expectation. We are going to base on your individual, the pressure that comes from your couple, the pressure that comes from the internally. And we believe that this is much stronger pressure because like OG's case only in the cases when family is very strong and people prioritize what family talks to you, but rather than what you are talking to you. And we believe this is the marginal cases and not all. But secondly, though, I think that opening government lacks analysis on answering, like the analysis may easily be flipped. That's to say, if you're in long-term relationship, why is it then that you're likely to just give up everything to change, make better? Why not, like, because it's long-term, you try to change your partner, you try to make it better, etc., etc. Like, it's very questionable, and I think that OG gives much less analysis on that. So what do we say? We believe that long-term relationship force you to sacrifice your opportunities. How does it actually happen? We believe it's not only society, but also your partner that always tells you how your life is going to be nice in the future. We tell you that there is a strong gaslighting that happens in almost all relationships when you go to the market and see like and choose things that you would buy in the future for your children, things that or flats that apartments that you would buy in the future, and always talk about your future. Why is it very strong? 2 things. One, we believe that your partner has a very strong emotional attachment to you rather than your family. It means that it's the person who you chose. It's not like your mother that you born into a family, but rather you chose the person, you fall in love, and your heart extremely loves this person in comparison to your parents, which means that there is strong depression when you break up. There is a strong level of suicides because of love, which prove that emotional attachment is strong, and therefore gaslighting is very strong. But secondly, though, you spend so much time and so much energy with each other. With family or society may not know you, and therefore may not actually spend so much time with you. However, your partner is the person who is always with you, and therefore has all the opportunities to gaslight you and all the opportunities to make you believe that your future is going to be nice, make you believe that everything will be nice in the future. So what do you do next when you actually believe in your future and believe that everything will? you start to sacrifice yourself. One, you start to giving up your friends. You spend much less time with your friends and spend much more and more time with your partner. Why? Because you believe that it's very important, and your partner also may demand this attention, because there is also a narrative that if you're a couple, then you have to spend so much time with each other, etc., etc. And notice, you give up your friends. You are ready to give up your friends because you believe that the future is very important, because you believe that in the future everything will be all right. So why is it very important and very crucial? Because one, we believe that at the point in which you lose your friends, at the point in which you spend less and less time with your friends, you start to losing your friends, which means that one, it will be very hard for you to break up in the future, because friends are the people that help you to achieve this emotional stability, help you to go away from this breakup. But secondly, though, friends are the ones who give you emotional stability when you are in the relationship. It means that they help you when you're in the relationship. You can talk to them, etc., etc. But notice, when you start losing your friends, you are starting to be more and more dependent on your spouse, on your partner, and it gets much harder and harder to go away from this partner. But secondly, though, you start to give up certain job opportunities. For example, you may be willing to go to another job in another city. However, because you believe that that distance relationship might harm your long-term relationship, and therefore you start to give up. You stay in the city, you give up on your career, and this also also hardens your opportunity to give up, because you believe that you already gave up so much, and therefore you want to stay in this relationship. So why breakup happens every day, and why is it very important? Because one, we believe that people change so fastly. You meet every day new people, new things happen for you, and after 1 year relationship, there are new people you meet, and therefore you may not recognize your partner, you may not recognize the person you fall in love with, and therefore there's so many things may be changing. But also you start to envy, you start to pressure your partner, because if you're not changing and your partner is changing, you start to envy, and therefore also enable additional pressure. But secondly, though, if no one changes, it's also problematic, because people get tired of stability, people want something new, people want some other things, and therefore they also get tired from their partner. Notice that in the status quo, percentage of breaking up is very, very high. It proves that actually no stable super relationship may exist, or it's very hard. We believe that breakup is a normal thing, and it may help you go away from toxicity, help you go away from other very important things in your life. We believe that breakup happens always, and therefore we believe that on our side of the house, it's much easier for you to break up. Notice that it directly compares with opening a position, because it's contingent on the fact that relationship is a good thing. We tell you that relationship is not always a good thing. It may, by time, it may be worse, and it's very important for you to break up. On outside of the house, one, you are much more conscious, and you always check and balance your relationship. Why? Because always when you have new opportunities, when your partner says give up your friends, you think whether or not your relationship are so great, are so long term, that you are ready to give up them. You start to think, and you start to be more conscious about the status quo, about the reality. But secondly, though, no one forces you and no one gaslights you, because like at the point in which you understand that it's not your future partner, there are much less reasons for you to gaslight, to pressure this person. It means that there are much less reasons why your relationship are likely to be toxic, your relationship are likely to be strongly dependent, and furthermore, your relationship are likely living a new life. But secondly, it also may help you to find yourself after long. This is a very important thing, and therefore proud to propose.
I'd like to thank the previous speaker for a very fine speech, and I'm very happy to call upon the member of opposition. Here.